Hey folks, welcome to another VR video. This is going to be the first in a series of GDC wrap-up videos. I attended 4 days of GDC. The first on Tuesday was actually the last day of VRDC, and then I attended all 3 days of the expo, which was a mix of VR, AR, and normal PC content, and some board games and some other cool stuff as well. But this series is going to focus on just VR and AR platforms with just a hint of 2D PC content. So first, a little bit about me. I currently own an HTC Vive Pre that I've been using for a little over 2 years, an Oculus Rift with touch controllers, HP's mixed reality headset for the Windows 10 platform, a PlayStation VR, both the 2016 and 2017 version of the Daydream View. I actually just picked up the 2017 version on sale from Best Buy this week. A Google Cardboard, and Nolo VR, which allows you to use Steam VR applications with a mobile device. Now, this particular video is going to focus solely on VR hardware headsets. I am going to have a VR hardware accessories video and also a games and experiences video to follow. The first headset I want to focus on is, ironically, the HTC Vive Focus. Now, I tried this on Tuesday night thanks to a representative from HTC who was just roaming the halls and happened to have one in his hands. I got to play a game called Spark of Light, and I have to say the 110-degree field of view is definitely the best mobile field of view I've had so far. It's got a 2880 by 1600 screen inside. I'm not sure if it's 2 screens like the Vive Pro or if it's just a single screen, but it works really well. The thing that I thought was awesome about it is you actually have the ability with the world scale tracking, which is 6 degrees of freedom, to walk around a room space similar to room scale with an HTC Vive or HTC Vive Pro, and it actually showed the chaperone in front of me, which I thought was pretty cool. So you can define your room space. There's a 75 Hz refresh rate, which is actually similar to the Oculus DK2 and a little bit better than everything else that's available on the mobile platform, with the exception of one device, which I'll get to in a few moments. The disappointing factor with the HTC Vive Focus is the controller. The Vive Focus uses a controller very similar to this one right here, the Google Daydream controller, except it's got a trigger on the front of it similar to the Gear VR controller. It's a laser pointer. That's really what it is. It's got a touchpad, it's got a trigger, but it's really just a laser pointer, and it's something that is almost a disembodied hand as well. With that controller alone, it kind of detracts from the value of the Vive Focus, and I really wish they had 6 degree of freedom, 2 hands, so you can actually have your hands in the experience. This platform used to run Google Daydream, but HTC actually kind of did an about face and actually have their own platform coming out instead called Vive Wave. Now, Vive Wave is going to have similar titles to what you're going to see on Daydream or Gear VR, but again, with the design aspect of you will have that 6 degrees of freedom. Spark of Light, for example, I have on Daydream View, and I can actually walk toward things and peer into little corners and things of that nature with the Vive Focus that I certainly can't do with just the 360-degree tracking of the Daydream version. Now, this particular device is based on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 processor. It's a system on a chip. It's all in one. You don't have to buy anything else after you've purchased the Vive Focus itself, but it does have expandable storage with a micro SD. So if you do want to sideload programs potentially, or if you want to share media or things of that nature from your PC, you can certainly very easily do that with a micro SD. This particular device is currently only available in China, but they did announce at GDC that it is coming for a global launch sometime later this year. The cost in China right now is around $600 US. So I moved on from the Vive Focus And the next day, I actually got to check out the Oculus Go. Now, Oculus Go is a little bit less expensive, a little bit lower spec headset, but it had some awesome features. So the field of view on this one was not disclosed, but it's very similar to a Gear VR. So I assume it's probably around 100 degrees, 105 degrees maybe. It does have a 2560 by 1440 screen, and it actually has 2 different refresh rates available. So depending on your app, you could run at 60 hertz, which is the same as a Gear VR, or you can actually run up to a 72 hertz refresh rate. Now that 72 hertz refresh rate, you're thinking, oh, there's not that much difference. There absolutely is. I actually played Catan VR on the Oculus Go, and it was definitely a lower refresh rate, and I could tell that because then next I played Anshar Online with a 72 hertz refresh rate, and I could definitely tell that difference. It felt slower with Catan VR. It's really weird to say that, but it was true. Again, the Oculus Go has only 3 degrees of freedom for the controller, with kind of like a laser pointer with a trigger. Very, very similar to the Vive Focus. Very similar, almost identical to the Gear VR. The other thing is there's no positional tracking on the headset itself. There's really awesome audio. You can actually plug in your own headphones as well if you don't want to use the onboard audio. But I like the way that the audio kind of fires from the headband itself. I'm not sure how it works exactly. They would not disclose that, but it was pretty cool. Another downside is, in addition to no positional tracking, there's no expandable storage. So if you have big media files that you want to store, or if you want to sideload applications or things of that nature, there are no expandable storage options that are going to be available at launch with this device. It also runs a slightly older Snapdragon chipset. So this one runs a Snapdragon 821, which is comparable to an S7 if you're looking at a Samsung phone, or the Google Pixel, the first round of the Google devices. This particular device is rumored to be launching in May at $199. They're saying it's going to be 32 gigabytes of storage in rumors. I'm not sure Oculus has confirmed the storage capacity yet, but they are partnering with another company, Xiaomi Mi, to release this particular device in both a worldwide market and in China. So our next device is going to be the Lenovo Mirage Solo. Lenovo Mirage Solo is a Daydream WorldSense device. Now this particular device and the HTC Vive Focus were both actually going to be coming onto the market with this Daydream WorldSense technology initially, but Vive again kind of went on their own direction with Vive Wave. So the specs are slightly similar. They do both have a 110 degree field of view. They both have a 2560 by 1440 screen. They both have a 75 hertz refresh rate. They both have 6 degrees freedom tracking with the headset, and they both have a 3 degree freedom laser pointer style controller. Differences are the Daydream WorldSense platform seems to be more geared toward you bobbing your head or ducking or moving your head around in a solitary standing space. Both of the applications that I tried on the Lenovo WorldSense were seated experiments. So if I was playing Dr. Splorchy's Space Heroes, for example, I could dodge things that were being thrown at me by moving my head, but there was no movement. There was no getting up and walking around. Now, I don't know if that's just because Google was concerned about safety in their demo and they wanted to get a lot of people in the same demo room, but it wasn't a really good demonstration of that WorldSense technology. Whereas again, with the Vive Focus, I felt like I had the freedom to walk around the room anywhere I wanted. I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference on these mobile headsets because again, they only have that 3 degrees of freedom controller. But I felt like the Lenovo was a bit subpar. The screens were also significantly dimmer on the Lenovo Mirage Solo. I know that the Vive Focus has OLED screens. I believe the Mirage Solo has LCD screens, but I can't confirm that. It definitely was a less sharp image and a dimmer image than what I felt with the Vive Focus. However, this particular device, again, a Snapdragon 835 running Google's Daydream platform, has microSD expansion and is releasing this May at just $399. So that could be $200 less than the Vive Focus, and it might be a viable trade-off in that case if you're looking for an all-in-one headset with the Daydream platform in particular. The next headset I got to try was the Qualcomm 845 VR reference headset. Now this one is not yet released. They have released the 835 and the 821 VR reference headsets. The 835 was actually the model for the Lenovo Mirage Solo and the HTC Vive Focus. So this could be the reference design that leads to the next generation of mobile VR platforms. So this particular device also had a 2560 by 1440 screen. It had a 60 Hz refresh rate, which was definitely noticeable versus the 75 Hz on the Vive Focus and the Lenovo Mirage Solo. It felt a bit laggy when compared to those two. It also had 6 degrees of freedom for the headset itself. It also included Tobii eye tracking with some foveated rendering tricks up its sleeve. And it had a 3 degree of freedom XImmerse controller, which again was very similar to this Google Daydream controller with a trigger on the front. So all of the controllers, all of the schemes that they had available on all of these reference design and soon-to-be retail headsets were very, very similar 3 degree of freedom controllers. The Qualcomm headset is going to run Vive Wave, so that's been confirmed as of GDC as well, and it's going to be available to developers later this year. I will say the Qualcomm 835 that came before this one was around $1,500, so this is not intended for you to just pick up and as a hobbyist play with. This is going to be a reference design that only really developers would invest in, maybe to model their own OEM hardware off of, or maybe to develop specific applications for future headsets based on this design. The next one was a surprise for me. The Nintendo Virtual Boy. Now, in the 90s, I never touched one of these things. I didn't even really have experience where a friend had one or anything of that nature. And I wasn't really into VR in the 90s. I really didn't get introduced to virtual reality and have an interest in it until the cardboard came out a few years back. So this was my first actual opportunity to play a Nintendo Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy was released in 1995, and it was discontinued in 1996. It cost $179.95 here in the United States when it came out, and it had a monochromatic stereoscopic 3D system. I played a game called Red Alarm, which was a ton of fun. Played it for around 10 minutes until I, mistakenly pulled the AC adapter out of the back of the controller. So, yeah, I put it back together, and I think it rebooted and everything was okay, but I walked away very slowly from that one. I really enjoyed Red Alarm, so much so they actually got an emulator for the Oculus Rift that plays Virtual Boy titles pretty close to what the original did. It's called VB Gin OVR, and that particular emulator I actually went through and I played a lot more of Red Alarm. I may actually feature some Virtual Boy content in the future on my channel because it was a ton of fun. I will say though, that eye strain and the only play for 15 to 30 minutes at a time that they warned folks about, absolutely true. After playing Red Alarm on my Oculus Rift for a while, I couldn't make any content. I was planning to actually make this video after playing it for a little while last night, and I certainly could not. After the Virtual Boy, I moved into the AR realm for a few minutes and checked out the XImmerse Viewer. Now, the XImmerse Viewer is literally you put your phone in the top, and there's a mirror that reflects it to a screen below. It's cool if you want to have your phone screen in front of you hands-free and have it be a slightly larger view, but it really doesn't do much other than be a mirror and a headband for your phone. So this particular device has a 63-degree field of view, give or take, and a mirror that makes it so that in front of your face you have around a 50-inch screen experience. So it's similar to if you hold your phone up very close to your face, it gives you the illusion of a 50-inch screen. It's going to vary based on the resolution of your phone and the size of your phone. I didn't have very good results with this one, and I don't think I'd encourage it, or do I see really an intent for it for normal users. The other thing they had at the Immerse booth, though, was the AR Jedi challenges, which Lenovo and Ximmerse worked together to produce last year for Christmas. Now, I've never checked out the AR Jedi challenges device, so I did take the opportunity to do a demo. It's got a beacon tracker that's very similar to the ball at the top of the PlayStation Move controller, and it comes with a lightsaber peripheral. I got to battle Darth Maul. It was kind of cool, but it wasn't like, oh my god, I want to run out and spend $149.99 on this device. It's probably awesome for kids, but the field of view is pretty narrow. It's around a 60-degree field of view, and I don't really know that anyone's going to jump on this platform for augmented reality. I will say my company name on my badge was Shelley Productions, which is a company that I've partnered with my wife on. We do a lot of concert photography and filming book readings and things of that nature. The people at Ximmerse recognize the name Shell because Shell Games is working on some titles for this same AR headset. The headset is going to be marketed by itself. It's going to be called the Lenovo Mirage AR headset. So it's going to be marketed by Lenovo, the same folks making the Mirage Solo. No idea what the cost of the headset alone is going to be, but for $149.99 you can pick up the AR Jedi Challenges package. The last of the all-in-one mobile packages that I want to talk about just briefly is the Oculus Santa Cruz. Now, I did not get the opportunity to demo this device, but I went and sat through a couple of talks in the Oculus Theater, and I think that the Oculus Santa Cruz is truly going to be the mobile headset, the one that everybody's going to develop for, the one that everyone's going to want in the next year or two. I'm not sure when it's going to release. I'm not sure what the price point's going to be, but the thing that the Santa Cruz does that sets it apart from every other headset is it has those two hand-tracked controllers. So you have hands in every single game, in every single experience. They talked about how it has that 72 hertz refresh rate, similar to what the Oculus Go has today, and it's going to be better or on par with an S8 as far as graphics are concerned. So they did not confirm the chipset. They didn't confirm anything about the controllers other than they're going to be 6 degrees of freedom, same as the headset, when this thing launches. But I really feel like the Oculus Santa Cruz is the one to wait for if you're not passionate and really into mobile VR at the present time. Myself, I'm going to pick up an HTC Vive Focus when it releases because I'm really curious to see what that 6 degrees of freedom feels like on a mobile platform where I'm not tethered at all. And I want to check out the Vive Wave platform as well. Again, a little disappointed in the controller being a little bit like this one, but I've had a Daydream View, I've had a Gear VR, I've loved things from those platforms as well, so I am going to check it out. But as soon as the Oculus Santa Cruz comes out, I'm pre-ordering this one. I'm going to pick it up, and I think that's going to be the mobile device that I carry around with me and share for demos moving forward. No idea on price point, no idea when it's going to be becoming available, but stay tuned. I believe there's a Facebook conference coming up in a couple of months where they might share more details, and I'm hoping to get to Oculus Connect this fall, or maybe they'll actually allow me to do some demos if it's not already out already. So I've got a couple of other headsets to talk about. The first one is the HTC Vive Pro. Now, again, I'm still rocking the old HTC Vive Pre. I've had that since late January 2016. I love the thing dearly. I really like Lighthouse tracking. But it's got some flaws. One of the flaws in the HTC Vive non-Pro version is the microphone is very, very staticky. There's no wind filter. It picks up every single breath when I'm speaking. It also came with just kind of a Velcro headband. That's since been corrected with the Deluxe Audio Strap, but the Deluxe Audio Strap also kind of pushes into my head in a not very comfortable way. So that Deluxe Audio Strap helps a bit with my sinuses. I do suffer from some respiratory conditions, so the sinus pressure being relieved is definitely a cool thing. But it's not ideally comfortable. When I plop on an Oculus Rift like a baseball cap, that's comfortable. The original HTC Vive and HTC Vive Pre, not quite as comfortable. Love the tracking on the thing. It's the best tracking you can get in your home right now. Oculus Rift with touch controllers, very similar, but you still have to figure out what to do with 2 or 3 sensors around your room, the same as you have to do with the lighthouses, and I still kind of prefer the lighthouses at the present time. The Vive Pro is absolutely what they're calling a premium headset. It is the most comfortable device that I've worn. It fits my face very well. It's got great sound. It's got a dual mic array that sounds way better, worlds better than the old Vive microphone. So I can tell that the HTC team that works on the Vive has listened to feedback. Now, is this for a normal everyday user? Probably not. What I think this is going to be great for is arcade experiences and location-based VR experiences. So things like The Void and Dreamscape Immersive's Alien Zoo, which I went to a couple of weeks ago, they both used some form of alternative tracking. One of the cool things about The Void was they had hand tracking using a Leap Motion device. There's 2 cameras on the front of a Vive Pro. Those can also be used for hand tracking, so you won't need that separate device to do that. The Vive Pro is going to work with the Vive wireless adapter, which I'm going to talk about in a future video because I also got to check that out at GDC. That Vive wireless adapter is going to make it so that you don't have to have a backpack PC on when you're going through these experiences. So I really feel like the market for the HTC Vive Pro is the high-end arcade or location-based cottage industry experience. It's not really intended for an ideal for a home user. That said, it gives premium experience. As a VR YouTuber, I'm probably going to pick one up once the full kit with Valve's 2.0 spec lighthouses and the 1.0, 2.0 controllers are released. I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm not going to pick one up in advance. I have a ton of headsets that I can make content on. I'll probably stick to the Oculus Rift and the Vive Pre interchangeably like I've been doing for the past couple of years until I can get the full package for the Vive Pro. I feel like that full package is important because if something happens to my existing lighthouses, which are ancient at this point, I'd have to spend $150 each to pick up a new one from HTC. There's not really an alternative at this point. If I get the 2.0 spec lighthouses, I'll have the brand new technology. They're also supposed to be less expensive, so if I need to replace one, I'll be able to replace them at a lower cost. But by and far, the HTC Vive Pro is absolutely the most comfortable thing I've worn. It was the thing that I loved wearing the entire time I was at GDC. I was like, yeah, that's the comfort one. Did I care so much about the resolution? Not really. The resolution bump is great. It's cool that there's less screen door effect. It's cool that there's a better ability to read text on the screen. But was it leaps and bounds above the Rift or Vive? Not so much. It's cool. It's great advancement in technology. It is very, very similar or exactly the same to the Vive Focus, which is awesome and impressive. That they have that same resolution in an all-in-one that they do in a desktop-based PC-tethered device. And it's also the same, I believe, as the Samsung Odyssey. I will say, though, I didn't pick up the Samsung Odyssey because the headset itself was uncomfortable for me. Everybody's head is different. Everybody's facial structure, everything about them is different. So I can't say, don't go out and buy a Samsung Odyssey, buy a Vive Pro instead. I'm doing that because this is the most comfortable device I've ever put on my head, and I can see myself wearing it for hours and hours at a time, and that'll lead to more content for this channel and better experiences for me as a VR content creator. That's not saying you as somebody new to VR or you as someone that loves VR should run out and buy this device. I would absolutely encourage checking this out in a storefront once they've been released, or at an arcade or something of that nature in your area before committing to the purchase, because $799 for a Vive Pro is a steep price for a general user for just the headset alone. And I'm assuming the package for the headset, controllers, and lighthouses is going to be around $1,400 or $1,500, and that's a really steep purchase for not a huge amount of gain if the other headsets that you've already got available are already suitable and fitting for you. I know that in the future, HTC, Oculus, and other companies are going to be coming out with other headsets. This one's one to watch. It's going to be awesome, like I said, for those location-based experiences. If you're thinking about developing one of those, get a Vive Pro. Because otherwise you're going to be picking up an Oculus Rift, some form of alternative tracking, some form of hand controller, or some form of tethers to put on your hands and feet. And that's going to lead to even higher costs than the Vive Pro. You might want to look into a technology like OptiTrack, which I'll be talking about in a later video as well, and that's super expensive, whereas the Vive Pro with the wireless adapter may lead to easier to use and better experience overall. The last headset I'm going to talk about right now is the AntVR Mix. Now this one they're calling a hybrid headset. You do have to tether it to a PC, but it feels like you're wearing just a set of glasses. The end manufactured version of this headset is actually going to have two cameras on the front of it, so it's going to have inside-out tracking. It does have a 96-degree field of view for AR, which, if you compare this to the Lenovo device that I had tried earlier in the day, is worlds better. It's super comfortable because it just feels like you're wearing a pair of glasses. And the experience that they had us try was actually Tilt Brush, so using the SteamVR version of Tilt Brush with Nolo controllers and a Nolo base station. Now Nolo VR is a accessory that you can purchase, plug into your mobile phone. They have a mobile platform, and they have a PC tethered VR experience, which will work with SteamVR, and through Revive will work with Oculus Home and things of that nature. The Nolo tracking isn't the greatest thing on earth. That's why I've never really featured it on a video. It's getting better with age, but it's not perfect. That's the same experience I had using the AntVR Mix with the Nolo tracking as well. The AntVR Mix, though, I was kind of impressed. The display's a little bit dim. They said that's because it's a prototype. I'm hoping that the market device, the device that comes to market, is a brighter screen, because that dimness makes it so that the world around you, you can tell that this is just an image being cast over the world around you in a dim light, as opposed to something like the Magic Leap, which I would assume is going to be much brighter and more vivid when it comes out. I have no idea what the cost is going to be on the AntVR Mix. I'm hopeful that they'll iterate and it'll actually end up not with this particular device, which is going to require a PC tether, but with a future device, an all-in-one solution. This is really comfortable. If you're into augmented reality, it may be the one to experiment with, because it's probably going to be less expensive than the HoloLens and the Magic Leap, but I really feel like it's kind of a placeholder, and that AntVR will continue to iterate. They have with VR headsets in the past, and they probably will with AR as well. And you've got big competition coming out in the next year or so as well from Magic Leap and another revision of the Microsoft HoloLens. Overall, that was the headsets that I got to check out. I loved both Vive headsets, and the Ant VR Mix was a pretty cool use of technology for AR. So if I had to pick a top 3, I'd say Vive Pro, Vive Focus, and Ant VR Mix for things that I was actually able to try out. The one I'm most hopeful for, though, is the Oculus Santa Cruz that's going to come out sometime in the next year or so. That one's the one to watch for. Until next time, stay tuned to my channel because I'm going to have more cool content from GDC. Thank you for watching. Get out there and enjoy some VR for yourself, and I'll see you next time.